Hi everyone, I'm Carrie Severson. I'm the founder of the Unapologetic Voice House. We're a publishing house, an independent publishing house, and we work with authors and leaders in both the fiction and the nonfiction space. And we're here with Valerie, who is one of our authors, and we're talking about her book, I Asked the Wind,
Yes.
that is launching December 1st.
So excited.
Yeah.
First book, and it's a collection of poetry of all crazy things, and it's about
Yes.
love and the cycle of love. I kind of thought about it in three parts, and I think I mentioned this to you, that the first part is all about when you meet somebody and it's just absolutely wonderful and fantastic, and you can't believe how lucky you are. And the middle part is sort of like, wait, there's something not really working out here, something's kind of screwed up. And then the ending part is sort of like, I can't believe we even dated. Like, I don't even know how we were even in a relationship. So no matter where you are in this curve of love, you can find yourself, hopefully. And it's a very private collection because it was what I was experiencing at the time that I wrote it. So every single poem, I remember who I was thinking about, what I was feeling, and why I wrote it. So,
yeah.
And it's strange to take something so private and personal and say, okay, here you go, world, it now belongs to you. So that's been an interesting journey, and you've helped me through that and doing that and feeling confident to do that.
I think that's something that every writer faces, is the vulnerability of having something that you put so much energy into out into the world, to give somebody else the opportunity to critique or criticize or love and cherish. And I think the biggest benefit or even risk is knowing that something you wrote will make an impact in somebody's life to change their life. It is a very cool, it's a very surreal experience. And I've been a working writer for 20 years, and I created the Unapologetic Voice House based on what I wanted from a client's perspective when I went through the book publishing process several times myself. And the emotional support that you really crave during this experience is in that like battle between, it's mine, but I know I went through it to teach somebody else. And so when it comes to love, relationships, there's this fine line between it's like this film almost between public and private.
Yeah. Yes. And the interesting thing about that is social media has changed the relationships thing, because, you know, many years ago, you could have your private relationship and things were great, but now it's out there in the world, right? Everyone's posting pictures of, look, we're so happy, everything's so, I'm really not a cynic, by the way, but it's just,
that's true though. Like they call it that, like they're, especially Instagram talks a lot about like, you know, real life versus real, or like, you know, Instagram world versus reality. And no one really, very few people actually post what their real life looks like when it comes to relationships, because they aren't always perfect and they are very messy and, you know, emotionally, physically. And it's, what I like about your book is the way it was set up was really that arc between falling. So anyone in any space, if you are in a loving relationship and you only want to focus on that bubble that you're in, you can read those poems that are there and very easily tell when you move over that arc and you're like, oh, here's the conflict. I'm going to stay in this space.
Yeah, I think we're fighting. I think we're like the part where you start fighting, you know, or disagreeing. And then it's funny, what I was trying to do when I was writing it, or assembling it, as it were, I think you find that all the poems up until the last one, they're very lyrical and they're very short. And I think they're beautiful. Like they're not accusatory in any way, shape, or form. And I wanted to keep them lovely, right? And then you get to the last one, and the last one doesn't rhyme. There's lyricism. So it's almost like what I was intending was that you're going through this beautiful, wonderful, fantastic journey, and then all of a sudden it stops. Like it was like almost a dream. It ended, and that was done by intent. So the last poem, with the reference to ashes, like, you know, maybe this wasn't, you know, maybe it was just the ashes of your
illusion.
Yeah, it was not real at all. And I think a lot of times people struggle with that when they come to an end of a relationship. You know, was any of those things that I've experienced prior accurate? Were they real? Did I really feel them? Did you really mean it when you said, did you love me? And, you know, so why didn't it work out? Or why are we still not in that space? So I think it's everybody.
I totally agree with you, and I think everyone faces that in a loving relationship that they lost. They experience that. Was it real? I can't believe that happened. Holy cow! And as you know, on the business side, as the actual publisher, I was very concerned that we were ending it on such a. It's not a sour note. It's like it really is the nail in the
coffin.
And when you look at it from a whole and you pull it up back, it is it's bittersweet, and it really is like the final bow. It's like complete. So it was a fascinating experience for me to go through as the publisher, because writing poetry is by far, and I've been, like I said, I've been a working writer for more than 20 years now. Poetry is the only, I'm not a fiction writer and I'm not a poet. I'm like essayist, memoirist, you know, nonfiction through and through. And poetry has got to be the hardest form to pull off. And I think you do a lovely job of it.
Oh, I thank you. Every single word has to have a meaning.
Yeah.
This liminal, it's such a small space to tell a story. And for me, each poem is a story. It has an arc. You know, it has a beginning, it has a middle, something happens, and then it ends. And I do that, I think, for every single one of my poems. I just kind of take a little journey, and here you go. So it was nice that, I'm glad you like them. I hope you like them.
I'm excited. So now, for those of you watching, we are in, you can check out Valerie all over the place on social media, but we are in the formatting process of her book, and it will be uploaded. We're launching it December 1st, and it'll be uploaded onto 35 different e-distribution channels that you can find it on, obviously Amazon and all of the other major e-retailers, and we're working our way through finding places in bookstores and libraries that you'd be able to pick it up as well. Do you want to talk a little bit about the inspiration behind the cover? Because I think the cover has its own little story.
So I have a cousin who took the photograph, and it is my mother's village in Greece. And if you were going to stand on the road, my mother's house, which is made out of stone, would be right behind me to my right. And as you look forward, that's her cousin's house, and it's kind of carved down the mountain as it goes down. And my cousin was standing there one day, and he took this photograph of these two children. They were boys and girls. They were the migrant workers that came around to use, you know, the fields there, pick the olives or the tobacco or whatever it was. And they were just holding hands. And I saw that picture and I said, oh my God, that's love, isn't it? Like true love or real love, as Thomas Aquinas says, is to will the good of the other. And it's really bringing out the best in the other person and to want the best. And the thing that I loved about that photograph is this little boy and little girl, they're holding hands. And the little boy is like clearly distracted about something else. Like there's something going on there. And she didn't care. She's like, we're holding hands and we got to get over here and we're going. So you can go ahead with them, whatever nonsense you're doing, we are walking. And that's love, right? That's true love. That's what you want out of life, is that person that loves you so much that they're not going to let you stray, that they're going to call you out when you're doing something terrible. And they're just going to want the best version of you to come out into the world at all times. And so that's what that cover was. And
that's beautiful. I love it.
Yeah, so he allowed me to use that photograph, and I just thought that was just the perfect photograph. And it works with the story, right? Because it's that arc. And you know what's great about when we're talking about the last poem is if you hit the last poem and you say, was this ever real? I mean, that's kind of the last question, was this ever real? Guess what? If you want it to be real, start again in the beginning. You go back to the book and open the first poem and you answer it for yourself. It was definitely real. I will love you eternal until time does cease. For in your soul I have found perfect peace. Yep. it is, we're good, you know? And I think that's what relationships are sometimes. And anybody who's ever been in a relationship for a very long period of time, you find that you go that course.
Yeah.
My parents had an arranged marriage, probably shouldn't share that, but they did. And one of the things that I watched with them growing up was that they just respected each other and they loved each other. And it's never smooth, it's not smooth all the time. But they've been married for 48 years.
Oh my gosh.
48 years, and just watching them. And so I think the book can be evergreen in that regard, that regardless if you just had a big meltdown fight, you want to go to the middle where it's all about the things that aren't perfect, and then forgive and go back to the beginning where, you know, you generally do love the person. Or it's just, that's what I really like, the way the book is shaped out.
I love it. So, yes. And then what is your website where people can check you out and follow you? And
oh, yes. So you can find me on Facebook. I'm Valerie Nifora, really easy. You can find me on Instagram as Valerie Nifora. I'm on LinkedIn. You can follow me there. And Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook. And
you have a website, right? It's just Valerie Nifora.
Yes, it's valerienifora.com. I'm trying to keep it simple. And you can find me on Twitter as well, Nifora even. So, yeah.
Yes, and be sure to follow along her story. And as we get closer to December 1st, we'll hopefully be able to share where you'll be able to pick up your copy right before the holidays.
Thanks so much. It was a pleasure speaking with you guys all today, and finally seeing you, Carrie.
Likewise. Thank you. Take care.